Hey guys, Marslingan here, bringing you another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and so we are going through all of the stages of Extreme Super Battle Road to do team build guides to help you guys beat those stages when they do drop. They're coming very soon to Global. I'm recording all of these videos before they've come out, but obviously it's 10 videos total, so who knows, you might end up seeing one of these videos when they have actually just come out, but I'm going to try and get them all out just before. So as you can see from this man right here on the screen, we are talking about the Super STR team first, so versus Extreme Physical stage. So there obviously is a ton of units that will be good. These are my top picks. And then obviously any units that don't get mentioned, we can talk more in the comments, especially if there's units you guys are missing or units you think that I should have talked about. So make sure once you guys have watched the video, you go down to the comment section and join in the discussion down there. So in terms of not limiting yourself to a category, Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta is the best lead for this, because obviously he gives Vegeta family a 170 across the board, well 170 and HP 130. But his sub leader skill is Super STR 120, so you don't have to bring Vegeta family units. I think any of the other units that we're going to look at, if you don't have a unit that's in their category, their sub leader skill is lower than 120, which I think for Extreme Super Battle Road, because it is as hard as it is, 120 is probably the lowest you want to go for leader skill. So this Vegeta can obviously be very, very good. After he gets his 18 key super, he massively raises his defense. If you don't get his 18 key super though, he will take pretty reasonable damage from normal attacks. So you've got to be careful about that. But he does have that 30% chance to counter super attacks as well. So he can be very useful. He definitely is going to be the best lead for a lot of people. And then some of the units that, well, there's one unit in particular who's like a Super Battle Road MVP who is on the Vegeta family category, so he obviously benefits from him being the leader the most. So then we go on to this man right here. Now it's very important that we talk about him early on, because not only is he a good leader, if you want to make a team, you can make a full Super STR Realm of Gods team, and it features a few of the units that we're going to talk about in this video, so that team definitely could get the event done. Bear in mind, I should mention this early on, that obviously you guys know I'm going to be trying no item runs for all of these stages. These guides are not designed for no item runs. You probably are going to have to use very specific teams, but if you use any of the teams that we talk about in this video with items, you should be able to get it done, so bear that in mind. But like because I think the Super STR Realm of Gods is probably one of those teams that might not be able to no items it, but it should easily do it with items. So Realm of Gods 4 key and 130%, that obviously helps out with the LRs. You can run double UI Goku leads, but even on a non Realm of Gods team, this guy is obviously quite insane, because he has a 70% chance to dodge for the first 7 turns of the fight, right? Which Super Battle Road is never going to last longer than 7 turns. So he has a 70% chance to dodge for the entire thing, which is really, really good. His base attack and defense is okay. Obviously, we know from taking him into like Realm of God, Super Battle Road and stuff like that already, that if he doesn't dodge, he is going to take some damage. At least until his passive gets built up. But I did a video recently of an updated no items run on Realm of Gods, and yeah, if this guy dodges like the majority of the attacks that comes his way, it definitely makes it a lot easier. And of course, once his passive is fully built up, his stats are really high and it's really easy to get his 18 key super. So he is an absolute beast. He has prepared for battle and over in a flash as well, so it just makes him fit really, really well on the team with all the other units. So if you have this guy, even at 55%, like, he is a must include on the team pretty much, depending on your lead and whether you can run him on that team build. So then we have Kabe. This should be no surprise to anyone. Every single one of these videos will feature the 50% support units, because they're all very good. Some of them are worse than others, but they are all very good. One of the reasons why Kabe is one of the best ones is he does raise his attack and defense when he super attacks, and it stacks. So if you have dupes in him and he gets additional supers in that one turn that he's on, like, he's going to defend reasonably well. They all have nuking style passives as well, of course, so if you pick up a ton of orbs, that's going to help him out even more. Plus, he's the best support unit for Super STR, so, I mean, it kind of goes without saying that he should be included on the team. Plus, his leader skill is probably the next best after Vegeta's if you just want to run a standard Super STR team, because it's the 120 across the board, but with 4 key instead of 3, so that actually makes him a slightly better leader choice than Super Saiyan 4 Goku. If you have this guy, definitely if you have the 50% units, they should be auto includes on all of these teams. So then we go on to, of course, Super Saiyan 4 Goku. I thought we'd throw him in here just for a quick mention. He is probably going to be your backup leader if you don't have any of the other leads that we've talked about so far. He's got very bad defense overall, so he is probably, if you include him on the team as the leader, I would probably have him floating off in the last spot because he's going to take a lot of damage compared to some of the other units on the team. He'll still hit reasonably hard, but you have to be very careful because he's not the best defensive unit. So I've really only included him here as kind of a last choice for leader skill. So then we can go on to the MVP himself, Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta with his Easy A. He will take no damage from basically anything that you come up against. Maybe a super attack will do a couple of thousand, but everything else will do double digits. He has a high chance to stun, which in Super Battle Road is incredibly useful. And then of course if the enemy is stunned, he gets a huge attack buff. So if you have another stunner or he gets an additional super attack, he's actually able to deal pretty good damage as well. But he is going to be your main defender. Every rotation that he comes around, you just put him in front of the brunt of the attacks, and then you don't really need to worry about him for that turn. So he's very, very good. You've obviously got to make sure you get him linked up with someone that has over in a flash if you want to make it easy for him to super, because missing out with supers with him is not the end of the world, because he probably is his best role on the team is as your tank, but you really want to take advantage of that 50% chance to super as well. So he is an auto include if he can be run on the team, but obviously if you're running like double UI Goku leads, you're only getting the 100% buff to Super STR. But even then, he's probably still good enough to use because he'll still take less damage than some of the other people on that team. So let's move on to STR Whis. So STR Whis is another like absolute god level unit. He has the 70% chance to dodge just built in. I think it's 70%. But yeah, 70%. He has a 70% chance to dodge, like just built in every single turn, no condition whatsoever. So he's insanely good, and every time he dodges, he increases his defense by 50%. So basically, even if you've got no supports on the rotation, if he dodges the first attack that comes his way, then the second attack is already going to deal like very little damage. And then of course once you've dodged like 2 or 3 attacks, if you've put him in the first slot and there's like 6 attacks, once he dodges like 2 or 3 of those, he's just not going to take any damage. So that's really, really good. Plus he seals and lowers attack with his super, which are 2 other features as well as stunning that are very, very useful in Super Battle Road. So this guy is an absolute MVP. I think I pulled my second dupe for him from the Kefla banner, so very happy with that. Give him a bunch of additional, and yeah, he's going to be really, really good. Plus he does give an attack buff and recover HP at the end of the turn when there is an ally whose name includes Beerus, which will lead into the next unit that we're going to talk about, which is the LR, Beerus, and Whis. Now, this unit I would say is a little bit hit or miss. Like, if you're like me and you have no dupes in him, I'm not so sure if he's the best unit to bring, because if we look at his passive, he has 80% attack, and then he gets attack and defense 60% for 5 turns after receiving an attack. So just like the new physical Beerus, he doesn't have very good defense until you take that first hit, and then he gets 60% defense, which is not that great. So that first hit, especially on Extreme Super Battle Road, you're probably looking at anywhere between like 40 and 60k potentially, and then he gets the defensive buff. Now obviously linked up with Whis, he shares the Connoisseur link for some healing. They share a lot of these links. He's going to get that 50% attack buff from the Whis as well, so he's going to be able to put out a lot of damage, and then of course you'll get the heal at the end of the turn. But like I said, I feel like he could be a bit of a dangerous unit to use. Again though, if you're going to be using items, which I feel most people will, especially at least for the first clear, you could just use an Icarus or a Whis on the turn where you have these guys, and then he's not going to take as much damage. And then, like I say, the combo of him and STR Whis will be very good. Because you could put Whis in the first slot to dodge most of the attacks. It means he's never going to get this extra attack buff because he's not going to get hit before attacking. But that might make it a little bit safer because you could get Whis to target the unit that's going to be attacking this LR to lower their attack and seal, so they don't have as much chance of dealing a ton of damage to him. So I don't think I'll use him, especially when I go for the no item clear, but if you have him with dupes, he could be a very good choice. Then we go on to this guy. Now, you might wonder why I left him so last in the list, but obviously Gogeta and Vegito are incredibly good, but in Super Battle Road, they're not the best defensively until they start to build up. So one of their best uses, honestly, in Super Battle Road is to put them in slot 3, so that they get this 50% chance to dodge, because then they're still able to put out some decent damage. Like if you get him first turn, then you can have that 50% chance to dodge in slot 3, and then as soon as he comes back again, he's going to transform into blue, and by then you're probably going to be finishing off the stage that turn, so you can give him a nice big super and clear out one of the last enemies that are remaining. So obviously he's a powerhouse, but defensively not the best early on. So in Extreme Super Battle Road, where you are going to be taking a lot of damage, he could be a little bit of a liability. But again, activate a Whis and then he's probably not going to take that much damage. But I do think he's best used in the third slot, especially for the first few turns when he is in his base form. You're probably never going to see his active skill. Maybe if you have him like and he actually transforms on turn 4, and then the fight might go to turn 6. But because if you have him on turn 1, he's not going to transform on turn 3. It then means he's going to transform on turn 5, and then you can't use the active skill till turn 7, and that's probably not ever going to happen. So, but he's still a strong choice, especially if you did pull him with dupes. So he's definitely going to be up there for a lot of people. Plus he's on Realm of Gods if you want to run the full Realm of Gods team. So then we have Kefla. I thought I'd include her. We're not going to talk tons about her because obviously we're dropping loads of videos on her at the moment because she just came out. But she could be an interesting choice if you get the 6 orbs. She has that 50% chance to dodge. And then on turn 3 she transforms and will do a little bit of extra damage as well. So she could be a good option, but I do think, especially if like me, if you've only got the 1 copy of her, if you don't get those 6 orbs and she can't dodge, she is going to take quite a lot of damage. So I think she's probably lower in the list of recommendations, but I thought I'd include her since she did just come out on Global, and some of you will have pulled her, so she will be a reasonable option to use. So then we go on to Jiren. Now Jiren has always been an interesting unit for Super Battle Road because he has this chance to stun all enemies at the start of the turn, which is 25%. Now in Super Battle Road, when that goes off, it's insane because then that's a whole turn where you just can't take any damage. You get to dish out a bunch of damage for free. If you have units like Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta, he's going to get that extra attack buff from the fact that the enemy he's attacking is stunned. So he's going to be very, very good for that. If he doesn't stun, he does still have good stats, 130% attack and defense, so he can, like I remember on Realm of Gods Super Battle Road, as long as you had a unit on rotation with him that was buffing his defense, he would actually take double-digit damage, so from normal attacks obviously. So he can be a good choice, and of course Universe Survival Saga, you can run a full Super STR team for that as well, which means you have a 150% leader skill, so that could be an interesting option for you depending on your box. So then we go on to LRB Pan. Again, she's only going to fit into the team build if you're running a generic Super STR unit, but she's an interesting one. She recovers 33% of damage dealt as HP, so she can give you some nice free healing. She has a high chance of reducing damage by 55%, which is a 50% chance. I talked about that in the Infinite Dragon Ball History run we did the other day though with STR Ultimate Gohan. I'm not a big fan of units that only have a chance to mitigate damage, because if that doesn't go off, she will get hit quite hard. She does have a medium chance to stun on her 18 key, which is 30%, and then 25% on her 12 key. She does super attack early as well actually, so I say 12 key. It's 9 to 14. So she can super attack early, which is nice, give you that chance to stun and a heal, so she definitely is going to be useful, especially because she's free to play, so everybody should have her unless you're a fairly newer player. So she's definitely going to be a decent unit, and you can use her active skill to give an attack buff as early as turn 3, so that is going to help out everybody as well. In fact, speaking of active skills, I didn't even mention the fact, because we glossed over him quite quickly, but one of the good things about LR Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta as well is the fact that you can fire off that active skill and often get a free KO. So active skill units are always very useful in Super Battle Road. And then the last unit I wanted to talk about in detail is the Bardock and Gine. Obviously they were added during the anniversary but are now on all banners. I think I pulled 2 copies of them, but they're going to be very good for a couple of reasons. So they greatly raise their attack and defense on super, so they're going to take a bit less damage after supering, because greatly raising is what, 50%, which is very good. Then they get attack and defense 100%. Key 3 an additional 100% when there is an ally whose name includes Goku. So almost every team build that we've talked about so far includes a Goku of some description. Then they get an additional attack 100% when there is a movie boss's enemy. And then an additional key +3 attack 100 defense, and performs a guaranteed crit when facing an enemy whose name includes Frieza. Now, Extreme Super Battle Road, the fights are the same as the OG mono stages for Super Battle Road. So remember, like, one of the fights can be Frieza and King Cold. So there's your Frieza right there. A lot of the third fight can be either Bojack and his crew. I think Bojack and his crew is the last fight. The third fight can be Turles and his crew, or Cooler and his crew. So there's a movie bosses category enemy. So there's a couple of different fights that you could get with the RNG of whichever fights it's going to give you for that run, where you're going to be able to activate a lot of their passives in certain fights. So they could be very useful. And then, of course, they do have the active skill that you can use on turn 4 to give everybody an attack buff and then potentially finish off the fight that turn. So I do think they are a very good unit to bring as well. So those are my top picks and some honourable mentions. If I've left out anyone that you think we should have talked more about in detail, let me know in the comments down below. I'm just going to switch over very quickly to the in-game screen here, just to show you guys 3 teams that I've built that you could potentially copy if you have all the units. So this is the generic Super STR team like I talked about. Vegeta obviously only really giving the extra buff to Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta, but we've included the B-Pan, the support Kabe, obviously UI Goku if you have him. If he fits on the team, you should be bringing him, and then same goes for Whis really as well. And then this is the example of the full Super STR Universe Survival Saga team. We didn't really talk about these 2 units at the bottom. Topo's just a support unit, and Kale does infinitely stack her defense, but it's a shorter form event, so she's not going to get her max potential, but she's still going to be very good. There's a couple of instances in fights that you could get where she's going to get her guaranteed additional super, and then of course they're just going to benefit from the fact that Jiren has a 150 leader skill, so everybody is a little bit better than they would be on one of the other teams potentially. And then of course this is the full Super STR Realm of Gods team as well. But like I said, Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta is just so good that even under the 100% leader skill from UI Goku, he's still going to be tanking basically everything and has that 50% chance to stun. So I would probably run him on rotation with UI Goku. And then obviously we've got the Beerus and Whis rotation here as well. So those are 3 examples of teams. Let me know down below, if you're not using one of those 3, what team are you going to use? And of course, like I said, any units that you think should have been mentioned that we didn't talk about, let's talk about those more in the comment section down below. So there you go. That is it for the Super STR or versus Extreme Physical build for Extreme Super Battle Road. Let me know what you guys think down below and we can continue the discussion there. So smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. You can join the Discord, that link is in the description. We have team building discussions and stuff in there as well. So if you want to talk more about units and team builds, the option is there for that in the Discord as well. And I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.